What kind of skill set is that?
Taking things that don't necessarily belong to you.
Oh, little seizure boy won't try to rob somebody, huh? What you trying to steal?
$20 million.
Let's go get something to eat.
Some time ago, Josh worked at a luxury high-rise known simply as the Tower. At the very top in the penthouse suite, lived Arthur, a billionaire investment banker. Josh trusted him so much that he handed Arthur control of his employees' entire pension fund. One morning Josh came into work as usual. The building's general manager, Mr. Simon, told him he wanted Charlie to come see him within the next half hour. Right then Charlie showed up 20 minutes late. Josh scolded him, warning that Mr. Simon might finally fire him. Charlie's wife, who also happened to be Josh's sister, was pregnant and about to give birth, so losing his job would be devastating. Later that day Mr. Simon asked Josh to evict a man named Fizzy from his penthouse. Fizzy used to be wealthy but had gone broke, and he hadn't paid rent in a long time. When Josh confronted him, Fizzy begged for more time. Feeling sorry for him, Josh agreed to hold off a little longer. That evening as Josh headed home, he chatted with the building's doorman Lester, who said he planned to retire the following year. One morning the two noticed a suspicious car that had been parked outside the tower for 2 straight days. Suddenly several men came out from around it. Thinking the building was about to be robbed, Josh ordered Lester to lock the doors and ran inside, shouting "Code Black." They checked the security cameras but saw nothing unusual. A moment later, however, news spread that Arthur had been kidnapped. Josh sprinted after the attackers, shouting Arthur's name, but before he could reach them, a woman struck him hard. Right then the kidnapper's truck overturned on the road. Josh tried to explain that Arthur was innocent and being taken against his will, but the woman introduced herself as Agent Claire and told him Arthur had actually been trying to escape arrest. It turned out Arthur was guilty of a massive multi-million-dollar fraud. When Josh returned to the building, he gathered the staff and explained that Arthur had been managing their pensions for years. The workers were furious once they realized all their money was gone. Not long after, the news broke that Arthur had been released on bail after paying $10 million. The catch was he had to remain confined to his penthouse under FBI supervision. Agent Claire explained that the penthouse was now essentially a high-security prison. She asked Arthur about a rare car parked there, and he proudly showed her his 1963 Ferrari 250 GT, once owned by Steve McQueen, which he bought for $1 million and was now worth over $10 million. Before leaving, Arthur asked Josh to make sure food deliveries were arranged for him. Later, Josh pulled Claire aside to ask whether Arthur might actually be innocent, and if not, how everyone could get their money back. Claire told him bluntly it was better to accept the truth: Arthur was guilty. That night, Josh saw police officers hauling away his childhood friend Slide, who'd been involved in shady dealings for years. Josh ignored him. Meanwhile, Lester was found wandering near train tracks. A police officer stopped him from jumping in front of a train at the last second. At the hospital, Charlie told Josh what had happened. When Josh met Lester, the old doorman revealed that he had given Arthur his entire life savings, just $3,000, to invest, and now it was gone. Crushed, Josh stormed back to the tower to confront Arthur. But before he could reach the penthouse, Charlie stopped him. Fizzy then appeared, admitting his life was in ruins. He was headed to jail and his wife had left him, taking the kids. Josh suddenly remembered Fizzy had once worked in the stock market. He asked him when Arthur would have first realized the money was gone. Fizzy answered, "About a year ago." Finally, Charlie allowed Josh up to the penthouse under the pretense of taking a breakfast order. Josh confronted Arthur directly, asking why he took Lester's money. Arthur arrogantly said he'd done Lester a favor by investing it. Charlie snapped, telling him Lester had nearly killed himself the night before. Josh grabbed a golf club and walked over to Arthur's prized Ferrari. Arthur nervously warned him not to do something he couldn't take back. Josh glared at him and asked if he even cared. Arthur insisted he did, but Josh pointed out he hadn't even asked if Lester was alive or dead. With that, Josh smashed the Ferrari's window. Afterward, Mr. Simon summoned them all. He said he didn't care about Arthur's crimes, but what Josh and the others had done was unacceptable. He fired them on the spot. Josh wished his co-workers well and walked out. That night, Josh ran into Claire at a club. He told her he wanted to find a way to recover his co-workers' stolen pensions. As he was about to leave, Claire asked him if he wanted to grab a drink. A few drinks later, both were drunk. Claire let slip that Arthur had hidden $20 million somewhere. Josh's mind started spinning. The next day he returned to his old office in the tower and picked up a notebook. He also noticed some safes. That night he called Charlie, Henry, and Fizzy over to his place. He explained that during renovations in Arthur's penthouse, Arthur must have hidden the $20 million there. Josh pitched them a plan to steal it. Henry and Fizzy were instantly on board, but Charlie refused, saying none of them knew the first thing about pulling off a heist. Josh smiled and said he knew someone who could teach them. That someone was Slide. Josh bailed him out of jail and picked him up outside the station. At first Slide was furious and demanded to know why Josh was bothering him. Josh explained the plan to steal Arthur's hidden fortune. He then introduced Slide to the rest of the group, pointing out that Slide had real criminal experience. But when Slide realized none of them had ever stolen a thing in their lives, he laughed and refused to help. Josh pleaded with him, saying they wanted him specifically to guide them. Slide finally agreed to a test. Each of them had to steal something small from the mall. Nervous but determined, they all managed it. Impressed, Slide joined the crew. They gathered at Josh's house and began planning. Josh laid out how they'd avoid the tower's cameras and security guards. Just as they were finalizing details, there was a knock at the door. It was Agent Claire. Everyone hid. Claire told Josh that Arthur might actually walk free next week. On top of that, Arthur planned to sue Josh for smashing his Ferrari. The charges would go away if Josh apologized. Josh reluctantly went to Arthur to apologize, using the opportunity to study the penthouse closely. Later, Claire drove him home and handed him the footage of him smashing the Ferrari. Before leaving, Josh asked Claire out on a date for Saturday and she accepted. When Josh got home, his crew was upset. They couldn't believe he was cozying up to an FBI agent while planning a heist. Still, they returned to business. Slide admitted the safe would be a nightmare. He'd never cracked one so advanced. They needed a safe expert. That's when Josh thought of Odessa, a tower employee. He approached her and showed her the safe. She examined it and said it had multiple spindles and would take her about 15 minutes to open. The next morning, Josh and Henry began staking out the tower. When Josh spotted Charlie entering the tower, he demanded an explanation. Charlie told him that Mr. Simon had rehired him, and now that he was officially back working for the tower, he wanted nothing to do with Josh's plan. Meanwhile, Agent Claire got word that Arthur's court hearing had been rescheduled for Thanksgiving Day. To make matters worse, Arthur decided to go ahead and press charges against Josh for smashing his Ferrari, despite the earlier apology. Claire called Josh and told him that once Arthur filed the case, Josh would be thrown in jail before the end of the week. Thanksgiving Day arrived. Josh told Henry that Charlie's wife was traveling by train to her uncle's place. He asked Henry to swipe her phone, and Henry pulled it off without being noticed. At the same time, Arthur was escorted out of his penthouse by the FBI for his court appearance. Henry returned with the phone, but just then, Josh saw Slide walking toward the tower dressed in a sharp suit. Fizzy panicked, saying this wasn't part of the plan, but Josh realized Slide was trying to double-cross them and grab the money for himself. Inside the tower, Charlie suddenly received a message from his wife saying the baby was about to be born. He bolted out of the building in a rush, leaving the security floor unattended. The moment he was gone, Josh and his team made their move and slipped quietly inside. Slide, meanwhile, walked straight into Mr. Simon's office, pretending to be a bank official inspecting renovation work in Fizzy's apartment. As the staff got distracted celebrating someone's birthday with a cake, Josh and his crew spotted Simon heading for the elevator, where Slide was waiting. They quickly ran up the stairs. When Slide reached Fizzy's apartment, he shoved Simon into a closet and locked him in. At the same time, Odessa delivered the birthday cake to the FBI agent stationed outside Arthur's penthouse. The agent turned it down. He was allergic to chocolate. Odessa immediately took the opportunity, attacked him, and knocked him out cold. Meanwhile, Josh and his crew reached the penthouse, shut down the security cameras, and began their search for the safe. Josh tapped on a hollow wall and started tearing it open. But before he could get any further, Slide showed up behind him with a gun. Luckily, Odessa leveled a gun at Slide's head from behind, and Fizzy quickly disarmed him. With Slide restrained, Odessa went to work on the safe. At the courthouse, Claire discovered the shocking truth. The building was locked and the judge was off duty. Realizing they had been lured out on purpose, she rushed Arthur back to the tower. Back at the tower, Charlie returned after realizing the message about his wife had been fake. He went straight to the security room asking about Josh, but the staff claimed they hadn't seen him. In the penthouse, Odessa finally cracked the safe, only for them all to freeze in disbelief. It was completely empty. Slide tried to wrestle back his gun, and in the struggle, a shot went off, hitting the Ferrari. Josh ran his hand over the car's scratched paint and suddenly realized the truth. The car itself was made entirely of gold. Fizzy estimated its value at around $45 million. The team decided to steal the car instead, but hauling it out of the tower was another problem. Josh remembered the massive crane used for window washing. He told Henry to lower it down. They ripped out the penthouse's giant glass window, hooked the Ferrari up and carefully began lowering it to Fizzy's floor. While this was happening, Claire, driving Arthur back, told him she was certain the tower was being robbed. She'd figured out that someone had given her a fake court date just to clear him out of the penthouse. Back upstairs, the crew pushed the Ferrari out the window, lowering it slowly toward Fizzy's unit. Suddenly, the FBI agent Odessa had knocked out began to stir. Josh shouted at Fizzy to hurry and pull the car inside, but he fumbled, nervous and panicked. The agent pounded on the penthouse door. Josh and Slide jumped onto the crane cables and climbed down to Fizzy's floor. Just as Fizzy was about to slip off and plummet, Josh grabbed his hand and pulled him to safety. Meanwhile, Claire's car hit a traffic jam. A police officer directed her to take a detour through the park, slowing them down. Inside the tower, Josh and Slide managed to hook the car and drag it into Fizzy's apartment. Charlie arrived, furious that Josh had gone through with the plan anyway. But when Josh showed him the golden Ferrari and explained its worth, Charlie changed his mind and joined in. The team placed the car on top of the elevator. Josh stumbled upon a notebook filled with Arthur's illegal dealings and tucked it away. Suddenly, the elevator jolted to life, shooting upward. The agents and Arthur stepped into it, unaware the car was balanced on the roof above them. Josh worried it would smash into the ceiling, but the car narrowly cleared. Josh called Lester and told him the plan had changed. They had to get the Ferrari out of the tower immediately. When Arthur and the FBI agents reached the penthouse, they were shocked to see the car missing. Claire realized Arthur had lied about the safe, which violated his bail conditions. His freedom was over. She rushed to the security room just in time to see a truck barreling out of the garage. She knew the Ferrari was inside. Lester drove the truck through crowded streets, pursued by FBI vehicles. He turned into an alley but was quickly surrounded by police. They threw open the back door of the truck, only to find it completely empty. The FBI then arrested Josh, Slide, Henry, Fizzy, and Odessa on suspicion of stealing the car. All of them, along with Arthur, were loaded into the same police truck headed for the station. Arthur mocked them, bragging that he'd be back in his penthouse soon while they rotted in prison. Josh smirked and told him that unlike them, Arthur would never see the outside world again. He pulled out the notebook he'd found, filled with proof of Arthur's crimes. Arthur panicked, offering them 10 times the value of the Ferrari to keep quiet, but the team refused. Back at the FBI office, Miss Lou walked in, introducing herself as Josh and the crew's lawyer. She handed over the notebook, demanding their release. The agents agreed. Josh would have to serve 2 years in jail, but the others were free. Josh accepted without hesitation. Later, on the tower's rooftop, Slide, Henry, Fizzy, and Odessa pulled back the cover of the swimming pool, revealing the golden Ferrari hidden beneath the water. Arthur was sentenced to life in prison. Charlie welcomed a healthy baby girl with his wife. And Josh, even behind bars serving his 2-year sentence, wore a quiet smile. A few days later, packages arrived at the homes of the tower staff. When they opened them, they lit up with joy. Inside were small, gleaming pieces of the golden Ferrari, their shares of the fortune. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of the exciting content coming your way. Every new video is made with you in mind, and I'd love to have you here for the journey. See you in the next one.